Hi everyone, it's Sandra. In this video, I want to show you a fourth way that I've discovered that I can use leftover bones to benefit me, my worms, and my garden. In my previous video, I showed you 3 ways I use leftover bones. I'll link to that video in the description, but I'm really excited to show you this 4th way because this is my preferred way from now on. In this video, I'll show you how I do it and explain my reasoning why I think this is the way to go. As you probably know, bone broth is extremely healthy for us. It's got a high collagen content. It's very gentle for those of us with tender digestive systems. It's also really good for the joints and bones. It's anti-inflammatory, and obviously it's full of minerals. Unlike just regular broth, bone broth is rich in protein and actually is a meal all on its own. So here's my recipe to get outstanding bone broth. We use the Instant Pot, but any pressure cooker will do. You want to feed it about 2/3 with high quality bones. I like to keep poultry with poultry and so on, but it really doesn't matter. We keep a bag in the freezer for leftover bones, and we'll make a batch of bone broth every week or so when the bag gets full. At this point, we sometimes will add vegetables that, like the end of a rutabaga that we've cut off or the end of an onion, but most of those actually go to my worms, so we don't do that very often. The few vitamins that do make it into bone broth are from those vegetables, but honestly, we would just prefer to eat the vegetables. The benefits of bone broth are in, like I said, the collagen, the gelatin, all of those great amino acids, and not in the little bit of vitamins that will make it through to the broth. I do sometimes add fresh herbs from the garden or even just the stalks of rosemary that are left over after I've diced up the rosemary itself. You've got to add an acid of some sort. Some people use apple cider vinegar. We prefer to use organic lemon juice, just a couple, 2-3 tablespoons, 50 to 75 milliliters of that, and you're away to the races. After 3 hours, we get about 4 of these, about 700 milliliters or 24-ounce tubs of bone broth. 3 of them go in the freezer and 1 stays fresh for soup that night. I go back to the bones and I pick off any meat remnants that may still be clinging to whatever bones are still there. The small bones all dissolve into the broth. That's what makes the broth so rich. There really aren't many bigger bones left over when you use poultry. The bones are all falling apart by this point, so into the food processor they go. It takes about 30 seconds until they've been turned into a puree. I don't add anything at all. The key is to do this immediately after they come out of the pressure cooker while they are still soft. If you let them dry, they will harden up. We have to strain the bones out of our bone broth anyway, so this really doesn't add to my workload. And this new method I've discovered returns the bones to my garden in the most beneficial way. Because it's still in a semi-liquid form, it's easy just to scrape it out of the food processor. I was gifted some of these silicone trays with clear lids that I use to store them, but any ice cube tray would work. Or you could just put blobs of it on a parchment-lined cookie sheet and freeze it that way. And you know me, I don't waste anything, so I take a used napkin and I wipe it around the food processor bowl, and those napkins go to my worms. So when I want to use one of the bone meal cubes, I just pop it out of the frozen silicone tray and put it in with some veggie scraps that I am going to blend up in my food processor. So I then just treat this like I would any normal veggie scraps for my worms. I pop it into one of these fast food containers and into my freezer. The bone meal is highly distributed throughout the material. That means it's distributed through my worm bins and distributed through my garden. No rodents will be attracted at all. Here's a lovely borscht soup that I made with our bone broth. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye for now.